Hello everyone. We are back with our podcast today, and today's topic of discussion is going to be communalism, secularism, regionalism, and caste system, and how does it impact our Indian society in political ways and other ways. So, starting by what do you mean by regionalism and caste system? Because these are the terms that we listen everywhere but do not actually understand. So, starting with regionalism, caste system, what is it?
Yeah, as our topic consists of four different terms: communalism,
Yes.
casteism, secularism, and regionalism. So I'll try to
Mm-hmm.
explain each word one by one. So
Mm-hmm.
when we say communalism and regionalism, they both are somehow connected with the identity. Regionalism is also connected with identity. Communalism is also connected with identity. But communalism
Okay.
is like you are belonging to a yeah, you are attached to a particular community, while regionalism means
Mm-hmm.
that you are attached to a particular location, a particular region, or a particular culture. So
Mm-hmm.
communalism, the example of communalism may be simply the Hindu versus Muslim and so and so. So this is the example of communalism. While regionalism will be more like you know that we have a Kannada language. We have more attachment with Telugu language. So it will lie in the category of regionalism. When we
Okay.
if we go to casteism, casteism is a, you know it's a complete historical term. uh, Initially there were in Vedic and later Vedic period there was the concept of Varna system. So caste system
Mm-hmm.
is a complex and evolved form of Varna system. In Varna system the society was segregated in four Varnas only: Brahman, Kshatriya, Vaishya, and Shudra. But various incoming in India during the time of Mughals, during the time of Arabs, Turks, and then French, Portuguese, English. All these incoming and intermixing of people, this give rise to a more specific form of Varna system, which we see as a caste system. And secularism will be the broad sense. The origin of the secularism is Western nation Europe.
Mm-hmm.
In that sense, in Western sense, secularism is that the state, means the political system of a country, will make a logical distance from the religion. But in Indian culture it changes. We have a variety of this. We will discuss it further in the discussion.
Okay. So, you well explained the regionalism, caste system, secularism, and communalism. So, moving forward, how does these things affect the Indian society? What are the impacts of each one of them? If anybody would like to take on this question.
Yeah.
Mm.
Uh, so uh, the communism, as a first, I will take the communism. What the communism effect on Indian society. So, I will give not previous example. We can see the previous recent example in a politics. So what the politicians are doing that they are dividing our most of the politics are revolving around the Hindu Muslims. So
Yes.
basically they are taking votes by dividing the our what religion
Hmm.
and the uh, yeah, means they are dividing the group in different what to say
They are biasing the group.
ha biasing the group and they are
Mm.
most of they are taking advantage of that.
Hmm.
The people of India are mostly some are educated or who are not educated. They are taking advantage of both. So they are giving most of the in Indian politics, the votes are given by the religion basis, caste basis, and how can I say dharam basis.
Yes.
So what same religion only. So as you see in the recently in Haryana, what is going on? So last yesterday news only that there are some groups divided. I don't remember the proper ministry name, but he is openly giving the speech that some caste basis that you are from my caste, you give me, you can, you have to only give the vote to my caste only. While other caste, you will give other caste vote. So this type of what I say slogan or what speeches ministers are what can I say political leaders giving they are giving, and these are the only things
Using the
things
leverage
that,
of religion and that for their advantages.
if you heard about this recently, this Jammu Kashmir election, there is fully biased only on the it's depend upon only on the caste religion basis.
So you are saying that secularism also pose a path, even though it is a very positive concept. So secularism also create us some challenges, like you said that they are manipulating speeches so that people vote them. So secularism also a challenge.
Both are the challenges. Means in communism, people
like
are dividing in different groups. Secularism, they are not dividing in a group, but as you say, from inside they are thinking that if they are from single religions, they should give the vote of their leader who is from their religion. So in every what I say, this communalism, socialism, these are all are, as you say, defined in different way, but all are same only in an Indian context. And as you know that the caste system is a big issue in our country. Yes,
okay.
most of
So these were very well presented to the all challenges of the Indian society. So anything would you like to add to what are the challenges India faces because of these things like caste system, regionalism and other?
I have some points to raise, but I like to ask a question first.
Okay.
Two questions first. First one is, why do you think that that open platform speeches about communities, about caste, they are so well accepted in our society? And the second question is, do we consider communalism, casteism, secularism, and regionalism that they are different type of they are different organs, they are different type of discrimination rather than a single type of discrimination? These are my two questions.
Okay, attempting the first one, why are such species very well accepted in the society, very well welcome? I think because India, being a culturally diverse country, we have our what you call regional and caste identity more stronger than what you call national identity. So most people relate more to their local identity rather than their what you call the national identity. So they are more inclined towards such species, and that is why I think such speeches and views are well welcomed, because they give them purpose and identity, and because of such diverse thing, it is hard to connect at a national level.
And how it
You're
can
getting
be,
what I'm trying to
how
say.
it can be, what can be the solution for this?
Okay, so at the moment, I can think only कि we need to make our national identity even stronger, and we need to understand and understand the challenges that we face in different aspects of these. For example, in every if you are facing something related to regionalism, we need to pinpoint out. For example, in Nagaland, there is issue of regionalism. Nagaland and Assam, there is Nagas and those. So we need to understand why they have. What are the reasons? Is it because of the geography? Is it because of the history? And then we can resolve, come up with a solution. It needs to be targeted and in a particular state. So we can clear out those individual identity and create a national identity.
Okay, in that case, if we as a nation are going to push too much on national identity, don't you think it will create a more radical society, as we are seeing about you know the wave of Hindu Rashtra?
Yes, there is a possibility of turning it into a social state, and matlab somewhat like a social state, even though we are democratic, there is a possibility that because we have such a what you call centralized control. So if we push too much, there is a possibility that some factors might turn in and will turn it into political agenda. So there is a risk, but there is a need for a stronger national identity to fight with these things.
Okay. I would like to add
Responsibility.
I would like to add one thing in your answer, that uh, what I think, that there is a need to cater both the identity, the regional identity as well as the national identity. What uh,
Okay.
what we lack as a society, or what we lack as a system, is that we cannot make the balance between the two. Sometimes we give too much preference to regional identity, which lead to chaos, and
Hmm.
sometimes we give too much weightage to national identity,
Hmm.
which also resulted in chaos. For example, if we give too much weightage to national identity, that will ignore the local aspiration of the people. Like, it will ignore
Yes.
the example of such thing would be the imposing. In the history, in the past, there were an attempt to impose the Hindi language to all over the state. So it was kind
Hmm.
of an attempt to impose the national identity to the local aspiration. So
Yes.
obviously,
It is very much linked with the emotions and culture.
yes,
Those
yes.
so
So
it is
in,
necessary.
in in that example, what happened? The regional identity feels suppressed over the national identity, and it resulted in a kind of resistance. The second kind of example would be when we give too much regional identity over the national identity. The example for this may be the some northeastern state. In northeastern state, there are too much cultural identity, too much cultural variety. So there are n number of tribes, and the n number of tribes are very distinct in their living, in their speaking, in their day-to-day life. So they asked for some kind of special status. Then they were given the autonomous state. They were given the autonomous district. So it is even that is not enough for them. They also they further want to segregate into separate, or the point I'm trying to make is that if we give too much weightage to regionalism, that also gives us negative result. So
Okay.
there is a need to make a fine balance between the two, as you have mentioned, that it should be area specific, and it should be field specific, that which sector,
Hmm.
which field we are talking about. If we are talking about, for example, if we are talking about education, we have to make a balance in the two. In what sense we can make a balance? Like, uh, for whole of India, there is a need. We have to accept it that there is a practical need that every student must understand English as a language. Also, at regional level, there is a need that the syllabus, the textbook must also be available in the regional language, in the mother tongue. So it must be looked into the field specific and area specific approach, and the balance between these two must be killed.
Yes, there are challenges. So what you call the particular challenges in the particular region. So we need to pinpoint out what is radical and what is relevant.
Yes.
So there is a need for what you call the differentiate between what are the ideas and ideologies that will be relevant for a betterment of the society, and what are the ideas that will be radical, that causes the friction in day-to-day working in the society. So like in the issue of what you call the regionalism, the interstate border disputes, and there are which is because of the many cases की regional की वजह से होता है. तो हमारे को आइडियाज़ का आइडिया होना चाहिए, और there must be what you call की protocols that need to be followed to sort out these kind of things. Administration need to come up with some protocols to deal with such things.
Or if there
And
are
keep it
if
updated
there
as soon as possible.
If there are protocols, they must be followed stringently. They should be not like one person from X community is giving a hate speech and he is not going to jail, or he is not facing any administrative calamities, but there is another person from Y community who is giving again kind of radical or hate speech, and within few hours he is in jail or so.
Okay. So I was asking what are the challenges. So what was the second question? First question was why is it accepted at a larger scale such ideas, and what was the second?
I forgot my second question. My second question was can we put all these communism, casteism, secularism and regionalism into a single bucket, or there is some kind of differentiation, there is some kind of different parameter, different I'll say different experiences they provide to the society?
Yes, we can. If you look at the larger picture, they can be put into the similar bucket, because the challenge they pose are kind of similar. Because of caste system, regionalism or secularism, the politics is affected, and the politicians manipulate. You can say the effect of all these are similar, somewhat similar, and the idea, what if you look at the psychology, that will eventually lead to be similar type of psychology has been created, that is creating a friction and issues, but their individual definitions are different. The reason for example, in caste system, it is because of the identity that has been created because of the history, and the regionalism is because of the geographical area, and the geographical area which eventually translated into the regionalism. But after the addition of politics into that, because of many generations, the idea translated and actually not properly translated, which led to few radical ideas that created such issues. And so all over the challenges are similar, so they can be put into similar bucket, but their individual theory is different.
Okay.
So moving forward, anything would you like to add to today's topic? Then we move to questions. What are the challenges that are seen in Indian society? So anything you do?
Yeah, I'll say about challenges. Before go to challenges, we have already discussed the causes. What are the causes? So the causes for the communalism, maybe there are historical factor for communalism. What are those historical factors? I'll go in few times. I'll just skim through the points. So the causes for communalism will be historical factor. There are some historical factor. The political strategy.
Historical aspect.
Yes, there is political strategy behind this communalism. When we talk about casteism, obviously there is a historical aspect. There is a historical cause for this Varna system, intermixing of different communities, intermixing of different races within India, and it is caste is something associated with status. So the main cause of still prevalence of caste is the status. We all want a high status in society in anyhow. Either it may be in terms of monetary value, in terms of power, or if not, why not in terms of caste? So it is a symbol of status. The causes of regionalism will be, as we have discussed also, the one of the reason is language. The other one is the tribes. Tribes are more connected to their specific region, like they are more connected with the forest area. So the tribes and language is one of the factor. The other factor will be
Geography.
they have some
Geography.
yes, they have some specific values, specific culture which may be related to a specific location. So geography also plays a greater role in is one of the cause of regionalism. And what
History.
will be the cause of secularism will be the I'll again put it in the historical aspect. In the Western culture, we have seen Western culture, Indian culture also, that the religion always has emphasized too much. Yeah, religion has always have a greater say in the political matter. Like in the Western, there were churches who were too much involved in the political structure of the nation. So over the time, it was seen in such a way that to run a nation administratively, it is very much needed to separate these two, religion and political system. So this was the main cause of this this theory of secularism. Now, as your question was, what are the effects? Yeah, what are the impact of these four: communalism, casteism, secularism, socialism. So I am not what I have prepared in such a manner that I have combined all these four, and I have divided in three four areas.
Points.
What are the effect of these on society? What are the effect in economical field, in historical aspects? What are the effect
Okay.
political aspect, and what are the geographical impact of this?
If you like, I can throw you some questions, and
Yes,
you
yes.
can try and answering them from your notes
Yes.
and what you have understood. So I'm gonna throw few questions, and you can answer it based on your understanding and that.
Yes.
So, what are the challenges if there are street children and they are to be rehabilitated across the boundary of India? So,
Sorry,
so what are the challenges?
you are not audible.
Okay, I'll speak again. So, what are the challenges in rehabilitation of street children in India are faced because of these factors?
Yes. So, as you said, rehabilitation. We must understand why there is a rehabilitation, and we will discuss keeping in mind these four topics: communalism, casteism, and so on. So, the rehabilitation is to do with migration. And what causes the migration? There are so many reasons for that. One of the reasons which fits in today's discussion is that when we talk about casteism or communalism, it creates some type of discrimination. It creates some type of suppression in the society. So when there is such level of suppression, or such level of throughout the generation depression, what some people take step to keep out of them, they migrate. Obviously there is other factor as well, like building of dams and so reason, but I am focusing about this factor on today's discussion, that one of the reason for migration, that they want to get out of that socio-economical condition of that particular region. of that particular culture.
Now, yes. Now the street children, for example, child care services take to them to newer places for better opportunities. So what are the challenges that they can face?
Can you elaborate your question?
Okay, the street children, when they, because they do not have resources, government have few schemes in which they take the children to better places and they educate them. So what are the challenges in respect of regionalism or caste system that can be faced by them if they move to new places?
Okay, okay. I got your question. So in that scenario, that person, yeah, that children, of course, that will belong to any physical area, any physical culture. For example, if he is belonging to, let per se, he is belonging to the northeast. So he is very different from physical feature, from way of speaking, his mother tongue, and assuming that the rehabilitation center is in northern plains, so he will face the discrimination on the basis of his reason. The second discrimination he will face, she will face, will be based on the language, based on the appearance. So these are the, and
Challenges.
what happens, these challenges will kind of similar what a child of a lower caste will face when he will go to some education institution. These challenges will be somehow similar.
Okay, so next question is, do the political boundaries and the regional boundaries need to be similar?
That's a very good question. When we say about regional boundaries are somewhat we have to create for per se of better administration. There must be some regional boundary, that if there is a region X, it must have some boundary. It must have some specific coordinates that it lies within this region. When we talk about political boundary somehow is, political boundaries is about powers and is about authority. If you are a person of some political influence or some political power, you can make changes. You can at least initiate some changes in that particular religious regional boundary which is out of your scope. I'll give an example. Let's say there is an organization, kind of NGO or something, in Meerut. So that NGO originates in Meerut. It is registered in Meerut. So the regional boundary lies within Meerut. So its area of work, it also gain its experience. It helps children, elders, XYZ and so on. So it gain its experience in Meerut. But the political impact of their works, the political impact of their deeds, the social impact of their initiative, it will be much wider than the regional boundary. So the answer to your question will be the regional boundaries are necessary, but the political boundaries, I'll say they are very much blurred, and they should be in such they should be like.
Okay, so Anand, would you like to answer it differently or something?
क्वेश्चन क्या था?
क्वेश्चन था कि पॉलिटिकल बाउंड्रीज और रीजनल बाउंड्रीज सेम होनी चाहिए या नहीं?
ऐसे मतलब
कि जैसे कि अभी वो हो रहा है ना कि लैंग्वेज के बेसिस पे वो डिवाइड कर रहे हैं, पॉलिटिक्स को उसमें ला रहे हैं. जैसे आंध्रा का हिस्सा हुआ, उसको डिवाइड कर दिया गया. फिर उधर नागाज उधर अपना वो मांग रहे हैं अलग से लैंड, नागालैंड. और फिर उसके बाद वही ना कि रीजनल बाउंड्रीज और पॉलिटिकल बाउंड्रीज सिमिलर होनी चाहिए क्या? और ये केस हमेशा रेलेवेंट रहेगा या फिर कुछ केस में डिफरेंट हो सकता है?
यार मेरा ओपिनियन जो जैसे है कि रीजनल बाउंड्री देखें, रीजनल और पॉलिटिकल अलग अलग होना चाहिए, क्योंकि अपन ऐसे अब उसे
बोल बाद में देता हूँ मैं, मेरे भी एक पॉइंट.
तो ऐसा नहीं, तो पहले बोले फिर मैं बोलता हूँ.
नहीं वो ना कि अगर पॉलिटिकल बाउंड्री रहेगा तो वो एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन इजी हो जाएगा कि चैलेंजेस
हाँ
सिमिलर रहेंगे। अगर पॉलिटिकल
मतलब
बाउंड्री और रीजनल सेम रहेगा तो मतलब एक स्टेट को एडमिनिस्टर करने के लिए यू कैन बेटर मतलब सिमिलर टाइप की पॉलिसी लगेगा और बेटर एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन फॉलो हो पाएगा।
लेकिन यार ऐसा हो कहाँ रहा है अगर अपन ये देखें तो, क्योंकि कर्नाटका का ये ज्यादातर केस कर्नाटक नॉर्थ सॉरी साउथ साइड से ज्यादा आ रहे हैं, लैंग्वेज और ये तुम्हारा कैसे बोलते हैं पॉलिटिकल बाउंड्रीज के
हाँ
वो।
वो लोकल आइडेंटिटी स्ट्रॉन्ग है ना उधर।
हाँ तो उधर से ज्यादा हो रहा है। अभी रिसेंटली कर्नाटक में कोई ऑटो रिक्शा ड्राइवर था, वो ऐसे ही कुछ लैंग्वेज को लेके लड़ गया था दो लोगों से कि हिंदी क्यों बोल रहे हो। तो ये सब ज़्यादा मतलब हो रहा है भाई ठीक ठाक। तो मेरे हिसाब से तो रीजनल बाउंड्रीज तो होनी चाहिए, पॉलिटिकल बाउंड्रीज भी ऐसा।
कि मतलब दोनों अलाइन करनी चाहिए नहीं करनी चाहिए?
हाँ करनी चाहिए भाई,
अलाइन
मतलब
करनी चाहिए।
भाई पॉलिटिकल बाउंड्री और रीजनल बाउंड्री होनी चाहिए, नहीं तो वो फिर जैसे सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट है, सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट को मतलब वो तो
मैं इसमें इस क्वेश्चन को थोड़ा रिफाइन करता हूँ। एक एक एरिया
ओके
है, वो एरिया एमपी के भी इन्फ्लुएंस में आता है और वो एरिया एमएलए के भी इन्फ्लुएंस में आता है, तो पॉलिटिकल बाउंड्रीज ओवरलैप हो गई, लेकिन एरिया डिफाइंड है रीजनली कि हाँ ये एरिया जो है फलाना जिला है या फिर XYZ मंडल है कि वो इस प्रदेश का सो इस जिले का हिस्सा है। तो रीजनल बाउंड्री डिफाइंड है बहुत स्पेसिफिकली, लेकिन पॉलिटिकल बाउंड्री काइंड ऑफ ओवरलैप हो रही है। तो क्या ऐसा होना चाहिए, और ऐसा है मतलब होना चाहिए तो क्या नुकसान है, और ऐसा नहीं होना चाहिए तो क्यों, क्या फ़ायदा होगा उसका?
ओके तो मैं देता हूँ इसका थोड़ा सा कि रीजनल बाउंड्रीज और पॉलिटिकल बाउंड्रीज दोनों केस हो सकते हैं। इंडिया में जो देखा जाता है कि दोनों केसेस हैं, होते भी हैं और नहीं भी होते हैं। फॉर एग्जांपल ये अगर उसके हिसाब से देखो कि लैंग्वेज के हिसाब से अभी रिसेंटली स्टेट्स डिवाइड हुआ है, फिर तो और दूसरा कि इजी हो जाता है एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन को वहाँ पे मैनेज करना जब वो पॉलिटिक्स के हिसाब से डिवाइडेड हो, मगर चैलेंजेस भी क्रिएट हो जाते हैं क्योंकि एक पर्टिकुलर सेक्टर बहुत ज़्यादा इन्फ्लुएंशियल हो जाता है, तो इट में ओवर पावर द गवर्नमेंट अथॉरिटी। सो तो इट इज़ अ बून और बेन दोनों, और दोनों के अलग अलग चैलेंजेस हैं। और दूसरा ज़रूरी नहीं है कि अगर ज्योग्राफी के हिसाब से भी हो जाता है कि जैसे आर्कोपेलिगो है, अभी वो अलग अलग होते हैं मगर उनकी एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन सिमिलर होती है। आर्कोपेलिगो तुम्हारे जैसे वो हो गए अंडमान एंड निकोबार और इधर की साइड वो। हाँ तो इट इज़ कुछ केसेस में है और कुछ केसेस में नहीं है, तो ये था ये है, और दोनों के दोनों रेलेवेंट।
ठीक है, नेक्स्ट क्वेश्चन।
सो अगला क्वेश्चन, मूविंग फॉरवर्ड, how has regionalism affected the Indian politics?
Yeah, when we say Indian politics, first thing is strike to our mind is elections. So as we know that India follow the system of first past the post system. Who got the majority vote wins the race. Simple. So if you look the Indian election system from the point of view of a politician, yeah, from the point of view of a candidate, you will find that a single person is equal to a single vote. Equation is simple. One person equals to one vote. So in politics, when we see by the point of view of a candidate, he want to give n number of votes so that he can ensure his winning in the election. So the calculation, due to this, the calculation is started by taking these parameters, that which area I am talking about, what is this area is Hindu majority or is this area is Muslim majority. is this area is comprised of those XYZ castes, or is this area comprised of those ABC caste? Is this area lies on the on these tribal lands, or this area lies on the plains area or on the desert area? So these parameters shaped the Indian political system, Indian vote bank. Like now, as Anand has stated in the starting of this conversation, that this leads to the polarization of the masses. They started to give speeches openly about castes, about region. Take the example of Telangana state. Telangana state has created, I think, in 2014, if I am not wrong, 2014 or 14 or 17 something. So you see the political scenario of last 10 to 15 years in that state. When Telangana was part of Andhra Pradesh, the past 10 to 15 years there was a movement, there was a political movement, there was a political agenda, there was a political radicalization for a separate state, for a regional state, and which created a new state. The point I am trying to make is that regionalism has always a greater say in political system. Why? Because political candidates or political leaders need a vote bank.
Okay. So, Anand, how would you like to answer this question?
Yeah, was only here. So, according to me, regionalism in India, diversity of a language, culture, and this communities or religions. So, in that, what I say now, in India, in a political way, if we see that in a realism, that it is divided by the language, cultures, and communities. So, in a political term, this, whenever the politician is any political leader is going to for taking any vote from the public, so they focus for the specific language what they are speaking or culture what they are following. They are showing that they are accepting their cultures in terms that many political leaders are, suppose they have gone to Nagaland, so they wear their type of traditional dresses, and they will try to give speech in their languages, so they can interconnect them, that they can show them that they are from their what can I say, they are from their religions, or they are following their cultures. So this type of things they are doing to gain the votes from the public, and the public, most of the people, they are thinking that the very big some parties for big leaders is coming and showing respect to our cultures, so they are giving votes by according to this type of activities they are doing. So most of the votes are casting by this type, casting by the, and somewhat they are promising to give what special provisions or importance to their cultures, languages, religions. What specific religions and cultures they are following, they will give. They will वादा कर देते हैं कि भाई उसको गवर्नमेंट में, if I will come in a power, I will give importance to your culture and religion. I will increase your
freebies
कल्चरल एक्टिविटीज बढ़ाएंगे, ये सब रहते हैं।
और इसकी वजह से एक चीज़ और हुआ है, आई वुड लाइक टू ऐड वन मोर थिंग, कि रीजनल पार्टीज का ओरिजिनेशन हुआ है और उनकी सिग्निफिकेंस बढ़ी है, जैसे टीडीपी और एआईए, डीएमके और अकाली दल। तो ऐसी रीजनल पार्टीज हुई हैं जो कि अच्छा खासा पॉलिटिकल इन्फ्लुएंस रखती हैं बिकॉज ऑफ देयर रीजनल आइडेंटिटी। नेशनल पार्टीज को इतना इन्फ्लुएंस नहीं मिलता जितना लोकल पार्टीज को रीजनल में मिलता है। फॉर एग्जांपल उधर नागालैंड की साइड अगर तुम जाओ या फिर झारखंड की साइड जाओ तो उनकी जो लोकल पार्टीज हैं बिकॉज दे अलाइन विद देयर वो, तो वो पॉलिटिक्स में काफ़ी ज़्यादा इफेक्ट डालती हैं। रीजनलिज्म का एक मेजर इम्पैक्ट वो भी है।
Maybe I'll like to add one. Yeah, go ahead, Anand.
No, yeah,
Yeah.
yes, sir.
I like to give one example, the case study of Bengal as well. The the influence of regionalism on the political system. In Bengal, there was in after independence there was a movement of communism. Communism means that they will forcefully capture the land of big zamindar and so, and they will distribute among the commons. So over the time that communism has taken the form of clubs. Now those clubs are acting like a they are acting like a political nodes, political center. And if you want to gain power, like you want to be a chief minister or XYZ in Bengal, so you just need the support of those clubs. These clubs are higher than the local administration or the local police system also. The point I am trying to make is that sometimes the regional aspiration of the people and the original regional aspiration of the people over the time changes in such a manner that they itself create the political structure.
That's a very good point. Okay, so should I move on to next question or would someone like to add something to that?
Next question, please.
Okay, so next question is the impact of caste in Indian politics. What is the caste system? How has caste system impacted the Indian politics? I would like to clear few points before moving forward, which are more general and we all are thinking about it. कि फर्स्टली तो वोट बैंक पॉलिटिक्स की कास्ट के बेसिस पे दे डिवाइड द वो, और कुछ एग्जांपल्स यू कैन ऐड टू इट, और फिर उसके बाद कि क्या कि वही कि जो डोमिनेंट रोल है वो टॉप कास्ट के जो लीडर्स होते हैं वो मोस्टली टॉप कास्ट के उससे आते हैं. सो दीज आर आवर टू मोस्ट कॉमन पॉइंट्स. सो मूविंग फॉरवर्ड फ्रॉम दैट, हाउ हैज कास्ट affected Indian politics?
Okay. When we discuss the caste impact on political system, first we have to understand it is a divide and rule strategy which India has learned from Britishers. But pre-colonized state were also have a strategy of divide and rule in the form of Varna system. That Varna system was segregated the society in 4 Varnas, and each Varna has a dedicated task, and the higher the one Varnas, the higher the status. So in today's scenarios also politically, if you want to make an influence, if you want to if you want to be a leader, if you want to be XYZ in a political system in today's scenario, you can take any road. The first road leads to that, okay, there is a suppression of so and so caste, so and so community over a long time, so I will fight for them and I will be their leader. The second road would be like the caste system in the society is a prevalent culture of our Indian society, and this cannot be eradicated away. So the other leaders will somehow, not directly, but somehow they will support it. What happens? It is kind of a propaganda in itself, and it has created intermix or to create a ecosystem of confusion among the common peoples. I think I take it is that way. You take the example of Indian news media, news channels, what they are propagating nowadays. The second, the impact of caste on political system. So I'll say there were some rituals, there were some practices in caste system which were so brutal, which were so inhumane, that our Indian constitution, on which our political system runs, that constitution had to make some special provision relating to them. For example, Article 17, which abolishes the untouchability, Article 29-30, which give the rights to the minorities, and Article 25, 26, 7 and 8, which give certain religious rights. Then again, if we will talk about the impact of caste on political system, we must talk about the reservation policy. So the reservation policy and the historical aspect of reservation policy, we can trace it back, origin of this from the separate electorate. So the separate electorate at the time of I think Morley-Minto reform from the 1909, the separate electorate was first given to the Muslims, and that was the seed of communalism. That was a plant seed of communalism. When later on when this separate electorate was given to Indian scheduled castes, then there was a resistance from Gandhiji, and the Gandhiji point of view was simple, that if scheduled caste will portray it as a separate electorate, then whole Hindu community will be lost by within itself. So Gandhiji sees this separate electorate for scheduled caste as an attempt to create a chaos within Hindu society. So here comes the Pune Pact, and after Pune Pact, rather than a separate electorate, we were given a reserved candidate of a particular community, and from there the policy of reservation. First we see the reservation in historical content, and later on the reservation kind of expanded in education institution, in jobs, in opportunities, and so on and so. So one of the impact of caste is the reservation. The other point will be the sentiment or religious card. We have discussed already about that. We use caste, religion, and people's sentiment as a vote bank to radicalize the masses and to gain the vote bank. About caste impact on politics. Yeah, these are my points.
Okay. Anand, would you like to add something to that?
According what I say, that the caste system in India, in a political terms, as well as if you say that the most of the politics revolve around the caste system only, and most of the politicians giving most of the politicians are giving their speeches based on the caste. According to caste, they are standing their candidates for the election. In some particular reason that if suppose in a particular reason that OBC voters are more, so they will stand OBC candidate. And if suppose in some particular reason SC candidates are more, so they will stand SC candidate. So this type of politics are done in our country. So what I say that if we see caste system, we have to analyze from the historical period to up to today. So that in the recent last 2-3 years, 2-3 phases of the election, what I observed that the most of the hate speeches about the caste, religions, and everything is spoken by their local leaders. So in the every party has some specific political local leaders. So in that they are encouraging the some specific community or a specific caste to cast their vote on the this caste system basis, and they are giving some good amount of money to that particular what to say, particular person who are encouraging them to the people of their caste to vote for voting. So these are the things which revolve around our society, and we are facing this type of challenges. So if the election should be on a caste basis, so most of the things are the development of the country will not be like what I say, that the development of the country will not happen as other countries have.
Yes. So the caste identity is very broad in India and very strong. So because of which the vote bank politics is mostly based on it. At the local level, what Anand said, politicians exploit this factor, and they in their what you call election manifesto, and they promote that a particular caste, they take the candidate from that caste if they need the vote from that or the support from a particular region. At local level, what I have seen in my nearby election, कि it is mostly कि इस कास्ट इस एरिया में इस कास्ट के इतने लोग हैं, इसके इतने हैं, इतना वोट अपने पास आएगा. तो मोस्ट ऑफ द प्लानिंग इज मोस्टली बेस्ड अपॉन द कास्ट, एंड it started when it was first implemented in 1980 via Kham theory. Kham theory was K for Kshatriyas, H for Harijan, A for Adivasi and Muslims. So they were the majority. By combining all these, they were the majority in Gujarat, and the Congress created a plan to gain most of the vote from them. And this theory was so successful that this idea translated into all countries. So nowadays, when someone plan for their what you call the election campaign, they target a particular regions. So this is the reason today the caste system in the politics plays a major role, because it was so effective at that level. So what do you think was the reason that this was very effective? What might have been the reason?
The reason is you have given answer by yourself. The numbers are the reason. Simple. The more.
नहीं, what is the reason कि people are inclined towards caste politics? मतलब कि वो तो exploit करते हैं, मगर why people are choosing based on the caste instead of development?
Take it in this way. When you feel more connected to a person which is kind of your ideology, which thinks like you, which talks like you, so you feel more connected. This is kind of a subconscious psychological effect. So in the similar manner, when a mass, when a group of people which belong to a certain community, certain caste, certain region, and they see a person which is portrayed to them as within one of them, so they are subconsciously inclined toward them. Take it like this way. If I am a government employee, I am paying income tax, and suppose there is a 30% income tax, I am coming in a slab of 30% income tax, and there is a person as a leader who is a candidate in the next election, and he is portraying himself that he is very much aware by the problems of the salaried class, and he will, if he will come to power, he will reduce the income tax rate from 30 to 20%. So psychologically we will feel connected to the person. This same is the case for other problems, like problem of flood. If we go to Bihar and there is a river Kosi. So Kosi is also called the Sorrow of Bihar. So every year people see that yeah, there is a problem of flood in our area, and if a person portray himself that yeah, if I'll come in the next election, if I'll win the next election, I'll I'll do so and so arrangements for you guys that this problem of flood will be eradicated completely. So they people will automatically feel connected to that person and they will give their vote to them. Same is the case for caste.
Yes. So
One question I would like
I
to
got it.
I would like to ask here is we have discussed that there is a demand for separate state on the basis of language, on the basis of religion. I would like to ask a question: why there has not been a demand of a separate state on the basis of caste?
I believe what I think the reason is, uh, firstly, caste identity is not very open in the society. It is somewhat they practice, they share, and they exploit, but is not openly accepted because it is being it is somewhat now considered कि it is wrong and almost everyone in the society has accepted it कि it has created some issues in the past and almost every part is trying to avoid it or discussing about it or so that is the reason I think कि they are not openly accepting and trying to create a new system. In the lower caste, there is a possibility if there are groups of group and saturation of a particular caste, but the problem is not a problem. The issue is that there is not a concentration of particular caste in a particular region. So there may such a demand may arise.
There are certain regions in India which have a concentrated number of lower caste communities. They also didn't raise the demand for separate state. Your first point is valid. Like the caste practices, they are practiced over a long time, but they are not discussed openly. They are not discussed openly.
I think if I have to give it the answer to it at such a situation, though I will say that lower caste people are not very politically influential, so they do not have the means and resources to raise such a question, what you call the demand.
Okay. I like to add here is I think when it comes to demanding a separate state, there are two reasons why such demand is not coming. Yeah, we have not seen such demand. The first reason is migration. When a particular caste feels suppressed in a particular region, so they simply as you have said that they are not politically very organized or politically very resource rich. So instead of coming up with a group solution, they simply migrate from the region. They migrate to urban society. They migrate to cities. They migrate to other state as well to avoid this suppressing effect of caste. The second reason would be somehow I think so that somehow regional identity is regional identity overpower the caste identity. So like if I live in Mumbai, if I live in Vidarbha region, so I may belong to XYZ community, but somehow I also have identity card of Vidarbha region that I live in Vidarbha. So that regional identity somehow overpower the caste identity, and the person wants to live there. This may be another reason. This is my point.
Okay. 1 minute, I will be joining in from another day. I'm long. 5 minutes, I will be with you.
Okay. So
Where we continue.
so we will continue. I'll say कि we have discussed about what are the causes. We have discussed about some effects. We have not discussed the economical dimension of this topic. Would you like to add something on the economical dimension, that what are the positives or what are the negatives of these four or any of the one to the economic dimension of the nation?
There, if I say now, first I will say about the communism. If we see that in the communism that most of the what do I say, the society is group in the communism the society is dividing, so that it's basically effect on our economic what we say economic which is running in our country, it will affect on them. So based of the what I observed that in every this community communism or secularism, realism or caste system, so there are some effect in our economics in our economy from all these four aspects, four these points. So what about first I will say the caste system. The economy of lower class people are basically down from the upper class peoples. Upper class society, upper class peoples.
In terms of,
basically they are from upper
in terms of
upper
economic.
caste. If they are from upper caste, so their economy is always high from lower caste peoples. So it is from, I think so. When the caste is made, from that time only this economy, we can say that economy is affecting from that time only. The people from the lower caste is earning always less than higher caste.
इसी पे अगर एम्फेसाइज करें कि ऐसा क्यों है कि इकोनॉमिक पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू से वेल्थ की हायर कंसंट्रेशन हाई कास्ट के पास है और लो कास्ट के पास कम कंसंट्रेशन, ऐसा क्यों, क्या रीज़न है?
बिकॉज ऑफ अगर स्टार्टिंग से देखें तो बेस्ट रीजन है एजुकेशन, क्योंकि लोअर क्लास में स्टार्टिंग से एजुकेशन नहीं मिली है एरोटिकल में।
नवीन, मैं ब्रीफ कर देता हूँ नवीन को। we are discussing about the economical dimension of this topic, that the question I have asked you, that what are the economical impact of this communalism, casteism and so, and what are the economical dimensions. So the one point raised by Anand is that there is a in general it has been seen that there is a high concentration of wealth to the high caste people and low concentration of wealth to the low caste people. So now I am asking him why it is so. He is trying to answer that.
So just because it is because of the education. First of all, from the starting times, the higher caste is having the authority to gain education, and lower caste is not having the authority. I can say the best term, that they are not having authority to take education from anybody. So first of all the education, then second thing is land. Most of the land is all with the higher caste society people. So the second factor is land also. And if some lower caste people is having the land or if he having more land, so the higher caste people are doing politics and they are taking their lands for in the name of this tax, that you are not paying a proper tax, so I will take your land from the since that time. So their land portion is degrading and degrading, still it is degrading. So second, I will say the land, and third, I'm not getting third point. So my point is only to education and this land system.
Good point raised by Naveen. Anything you like to add, Naveen?
Well, economically, you're asking me how does the caste impact the economy of a particular sector? Yes, my question was that, nice.
My question
What
is,
was the question?
what what do you think the impact of this our topic on the economic perspective? Like we have
Okay,
discussed the political
yeah.
perspective. Now I am coming to the economic perspective.
Okay. So economically, if we look at the regional, it is the job opportunities in education and then what would you call the employment. There is reservation for particular sections and because of that, many opportunities are only available to people living in that area. For example, Delhi has reservation in jobs also and what we call DU में भी reservation होता है education के लिए. तो वो और दोनों फैक्टर जो कि इम्पोर्टेंट होते हैं इकोनॉमी में ऊपर मूव करने के लिए कि if you have a good education you can move up in the economy or if you have a good job then you can earn more and move up और फिर उसके बाद discrimination because of which there is a issue if one do not align with the cultures and the norms of the what you call the social identity of a regional religion or the caste, then he might face some discrimination in his working and he might not be able to earn that much. If it is a local business like restaurant and other, then he might face some particular discriminations and and even the liberty might be challenged in some cases, which might lead to him earning less. So other challenges if you look at the economy, the trading the preference of particular system, the opportunity is not very well accepted for the new entrepreneurs that are coming up. They think someone who is from their local place, for example Mumbai, the ports and that all, कि वहाँ पे मछली का जो काम होता है उसमें they prefer the people who are already working and they have the regional work. Instead of someone tries to get into that business like an entrepreneur who is trying to make it into it, he will not get the same treatment and won't get the same opportunity. So I think yes, these things actually affect the economy economically to various people in various systems. So these are the dimensions some I have explored and there are many more.
Okay, I'll good points raised by Anand and Naveen. I like to add something. I think due to these factors, the first thing is somehow our economy narrows down. It narrows down our economy because all these factors, they, for example, they somehow create either discrimination or they somehow create political instability. For example, if we look about the communalism and their highest consequences is the it is going to create a public riot and that public riot is going to cost the state very badly. So the first thing is it will cost the state and the other thing it will cost the state in terms of money and second thing it will cost the state economy in terms of time. It will you know it will create hurdles to the transportation system. It will create hurdles to other employments also. So the first thing is that it creates a narrow economy. Second point is if there is too much communalism, discrimination on the basis of casteism and so, then there is going to be a less scope for new economical opportunities. For example, if there is a person in some XYZ region and he is very much talented and he is having skill, he is having knowledge and he can he can open a factory or he can start a new business. But the regional values of that area is like that he is not allowed to start a new business or start a new opportunity So in that case, what happened that the scope for new opportunity will be automatically cut down or dropped down. So one of the negative impact of this is that it creates less scope for new opportunity. State financial loss is there, as I already said. Then the other causes we have discussed, migration. So what migration done is, migration somehow it directly reduces the human resource of a particular region. If there is a village, XYZ village, and there are 10% or 20% working population, like in the age group of 15 to 50, the working population of the village is migrating to urban center for better opportunity, or XYZ region, automatically the human resource of that particular region is dropping down, and the economical development will automatically penetrate late in that particular region. So this is one of the impact also. Then there is a one of the factor is also the agrarian structure. The caste system from the time immortal has created the lower caste people as a laborer to the farmland. So if that thing is not have been taken care of, then the lower strata would have been today's also simply a farm labor or simply a peasant. So this is also one of the negative of this, that discrimination closes the, we come to the point number 1 or 2, that discrimination closes the new opportunities and it leads to migration also. So these are some economic impacts from my point of view.
Yes, very well raised. So moving forward, if anybody do not have anything to add there, I would like to move forward with my next question.
Yes.
So as we live in the what you call the modern society, the greatest freedom we have is to express our views, and it might face some challenges that it can be offensive. So, with reference to recent incidents that we have discussed, few of them. So, how would you say what are the challenges that we can face if we express our views, and how it can be offensive, and how can we deal with them without sacrificing our freedom?
Yeah, first thing is when someone uses his freedom of expression, freedom of speech, what he says, it depends very much on the scientific temper of the audience. So what is the scientific temper of the audience he is talking about will have a greater say. What he is saying will impact less rather than to whom he is saying. So if a person is talking about he's creating some, it may be logical, it may be illogical comments about someone religion, about someone culture. So it depends on the masses how they are going to react on it. If the masses I am talking on a average basis, if the masses is dissatisfied, then the person is going to face a resistance. The second resistance is may not come from the masses, but the resistance may come from the state itself. Like we are discussing about secularism, there are some events when some freedom of expression of one person may hurt the sentiment of a religious population, and the state itself take preventive action so that these communal tension do not mature into a full-fledged rights, or do not mature into a administration failure. So these are the issue, like the resistance may be from state, the resistance may be from the local masses. What are the solution for this? The solution are simple but complicated. First one is you must raise the scientific temper of the people. The second one is you must know in what manner you have to put your thoughts. For example, I will give you a very simple example. Ancient history NCERT written by Ram Charan Sharma. So in that book he has raised the question about the what were the origin time of Ramayana, what were the origin time of Mahabharata. Is really there was a place about where Lord Krishna were raised. So he raised some logical question, he raised some scientific question about this study, and he was a historian in itself. But to avoid any problem, to avoid any resistance from the masses, the state itself now discontinued that book from our curriculum, and a separate book is introduced. Or some and in other times, what the state or what the authority does, they remove that particular chapters from the textbooks. So this depends on the situation, this depends on the attitude of the state, and this depends on the political scientific temper of the people.
So if we were to break down the scientific temper, then we have to look at what are the major sections of the society that are being impacted, and so if we look into that, the major are the youth that are exposed to a lot of knowledge via YouTube and influencers, and those ideas need to be kept in check, and there need to be a little bit more strict rules regarding what they are speaking and what their ideas they are translating to young minds, to minors, and because these ideas can concretize with time, and these need to be kept in check, I think.
Again, this responsibility of what the kid what the younger generation is consuming, it totally lies on the parents. That what our child is consuming on internet, what our child is consuming in the environment, that responsibility have to be taken by the parents, not by the state. By the time a logical expression about anything, religion or caste, by the time he got introduced to such new ideas, he or she is already radicalized. He or she somehow is brainwashed by the political system or by the social system, that he loses his scientific temper for these particular things.
Because recently I have been seeing some radical ideas in small kids. They are what you call shouting the naras like Jai Shri Ram and that's it. I'm not saying that's a radical idea. I'm saying the emotion they are generating based on that, because they are vulnerable and their ideas can be translated to something, and that path they are being taught by the influencers can lead them into very wrong direction. So I think this is something that need to be considered even by the state. I can understand that parents need to monitor and check what they are listening to, what they are listening to, what ideologies they are doing, so that they can create a better future for us and our society can grow. So moving forward, so again the similar question that we have already answered. The growing feeling of regionalism is important factor in generation of demand of separate electorate.
Demand of
separate states, sorry.
Okay.
Separate states. कि जो हमारा रीजनलिज्म का जो वो है क्या कहते हैं आइडिया है,
या फिर फीलिंग है जो इंक्रीज हो रहा है, क्या वो रीज़न है सेपरेट स्टेट का वो क्रिएट करने का, या और भी फैक्टर्स? आई थिंक वी हैव आंसर्ड दिस.
I'll answer it in a crisp manner. The reason for demand of a separate state may be on different factor, and that different factor may lie in any one of these. The factor may be on the basis of communalism, and the example will be India and Pakistan division. That demand on the basis of secularism. That this particular simple the example is the Ram Mandir, new Ram Mandir. The demand was based on a religious history only. The demand of new state generally more effect, in general terms are asked on the basis of regionalism, because regionalism itself is a broad term. It includes the language, it includes the tradition of the local area, it includes the culture of the local area, it includes some some physical or geographical parameters. For example, there may be a sacred pond, there may be a sacred tree, there may be a sacred place XYZ. So regionalism is generally the origin point for demand for new state, but there are of course other factors as well.
So, what is the difference between the idea of secularism in our philosophy in India's and the Western idea of secularism?
Okay, first you go first for this.
Okay. So, secularism in India is mostly independence of people to express their views and thoughts on religion without any political influence, and while on Western it is very humanitarian. Everybody has freedom to share their ideologies and not to influence others. So it is something foreign to me. I am not very familiar. I am not prepared for it. So I am asking in general, what is the difference in the debates or in what you call the debates in India and debates in the West? Secularism, related to secularism.
Yeah, I'll say when we see the historical aspect of Western culture, so we will see in Western culture.
West.
In West.
Europe.
In West, the history of the West, you will find that over the time the people gained scientific temper. Those people got introduced with industrialization first, and somehow they give greater importance to individual freedom, individual liberty. While in case of India, I'll say our history, if you will see our history, we are kind of more welcoming people. We welcomed different communities, different cultures, and religion somehow make a very greater impact on the day-to-day life of common people. We can see this by the example when during later Vedic period, there were n number of new religion. Buddhism, Jainism was one of that, but Hinduism changes its form, but it did not eradicate completely. Then Buddhism and Jainism also find its way. Then later comes the Arab, Turks, Mughal, Central Asian penetration in India. Again, they introduced the Islam and other religion, Islam, Sufism, but it also changes the form of religion, Hindu religion, but it was not able to completely eradicate the values and religious attachment of the people. Same experience we can see during the colonial period. colonial period, the Indian masses were introduced to Christianism, but still the 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 religion attachment of Hinduism, the religious attachment to Jainism, Buddhism, Islamist, these did not, change, or these did not eradicate completely. So Indian history, if you will see, that there is a greater attachment of people to the religion, and that's why the state cannot completely separate itself from the religion. What the responsibility of the state in West is that state have to ensure that religion should be separated from political system. It is the case in the Western cases. While in Indian cases, when we consider our history, the responsibility lies with the state is that state have to make a proper balance between different religions. It cannot separate itself because the masses cannot separate itself from the religion. So the Indian secularism is different in Western secularism in the sense that we are not separating ourselves from religion as a state, but we are accepting all the religion with same welcoming state, and we are ensuring also that a particular religion or a particular culture does not feel suppressed. That's why we introduced in our constitution the minority and religious rights.
तो यू आर सेइंग कि जो इंडिया का कॉन्सेप्ट है कि इंडिया व्हाट यू कॉल कि एक्सेप्ट्स कि ऑल द रिलीजन इनटू द पॉलिटिक्स एंड consider all the things, and while in the Western concept they are separated because it is not to be biased by the religion or the previous arguments.
Yes.
And it is need to be more the Western idea of secularism is more liberal, and the secularism idea in India is somewhat what you call more practical.
Yes, India is somewhat more practical. We are at least
Western idea is more ideological. Yes, it's what you say.
We can say that because Indian secularism is more open to discussion. For example, कि मस्जिद के बाहर लाउड स्पीकर लगना चाहिए या नहीं लगना चाहिए, एटलीस्ट वी आर ओपन टू दैट डिस्कशन. बट इन वेस्टर्न सेकुलरिज्म वो लाउड स्पीकर क्योंकि जनरल पब्लिक को परेशान कर रहा है वो नहीं लगेगा. दैट इज़ वेरी क्लियर. उस पर डिस्कशन भी नहीं होगा. सो
गवर्नमेंट प्रेफरेंस देता है बल्कि वो उसको पर्टिकुलरली गवर्नमेंट को नॉर्मली पार्ट नहीं लेता, मगर जैसे अगर किसी मॉन्यूमेंट का या मंदिर वगैरह को रिपेयर कराना हो तो इंडिया में गवर्नमेंट पैसे देता है. और दैट ऑल्सो बिकॉज दे अंडरस्टैंड कि इंडिया इज अ डाइवर्स कंट्री एंड देयर इज अ नीड फॉर to what you call address all the challenges even if they are at what you call regional grounds. So India is secular in that way, and that Western is secular in कि they separate the religion from that. So moving forward, so I think how long the discussion we have till now?
1.5 hours.
Okay, let's end it here. We have cleared most of our concepts.
Yes.
And so today we have completed our social justice and society. So this will be it in the society sector, and now we'll be moving on to the economy on our next discussion. So thank you for anyone who is listening to it, and we will try to come up with more such videos. These are we are translating now into somewhat kind of educational videos, which might be good, very helpful for someone who is preparing for a civil services exam, or someone who is generally looking to understand more how the society works at a basic level. So if you do like this type of content, do subscribe, and that's all for today.